lucky if you can find anywhere on campus, right? So that was something that happened. It's been legislated. Politicians are willing to take the hard stand on that, and they had a lot of grassroots support. If you wanted an international example, the legislation in countries, Canada, the US, Europe, that bans bribery as a method of doing business in other countries. And companies can be fined heavily for, in fact, doing what in another country is acceptable, but what is unacceptable here. So you need, I think, to get the political machine engaged with a strong public sentiment that something is wrong and needs fixing. And people will fix things, even if there's some short-term pain for long-term benefit. So, but I'm interested as somebody who works at the university in the role that, particularly, if you think of universities as being the places where the future politicians, policymakers, managers, decision makers are going to be educated, what role should the university be playing in ensuring that students are discussing these issues? And it was really brought home to me the other day when I was walking up a corridor here. There's a student having her lunch, and she's got a plastic water bottle. She walks over, there's a garbage can, and there's a bottle recycling can. And she puts the damn thing in the garbage can. I thought, okay, are we failing? So, yeah, well, why did she have a bottle in the first place? But maybe she refilled it from one of our free water refill stations. But why is that unconscious? Possibly not. I mean, what role can the university play? Because we are going to influence people who will have positions of responsibility.
Well, in part, we fail to question the assumption that recycling that's actually a beneficial thing to the environment. And I've always maintained it's not, because it gives us a nice crutch to believe that we're doing something that is a stopgap measure, but that enables people to believe, oh, I can consume and dispose.
Because it's not really.
Because, and as long as it's going to recycling. Whereas to actually associate a dollar cost to that behavior, or societal cost in terms of how you're perceived by your peers. And your comment about her failure to throw it in the recycle bin says something interesting, that peer pressure can play a role if it's actually acted upon. And I think this latest commercial where the guy's girlfriend dumps him because he doesn't recycle is actually probably one of the most effective commercials in that vein that I've seen. Because it's like, okay, you're going to be an outcast if you don't do this. I mean, I think that the visual aspect of things is really important. And that's where I think we fail as a university and as academics, is that we use words a lot. And we try to bury people in the facts. I mean, in terms of global warming and the consequences of tar sand, there's no question that most academics are vehemently against it. But the general public isn't up in arms. And that's because we talk to them a lot. And so apocalyptic visions, I think, might be great. The most important environmental book of the 20th century was called Silent Spring. That's an apocalyptic vision. But the point to that apocalyptic vision is it's an avoidable apocalypse if we can actually act. But people have to have the vision of an apocalypse before them.
But isn't one of the problems of the apocalyptic vision, when it proves not to be correct, people then don't believe the next one? I mean,
don't they though? I mean, Christianity is based on 2,000 years of failure to predict the apocalypse coming within a lifetime, and yet it's thriving.
I was in an environmental group when I was a student, and one of the things we used to go around telling people was that there'd be no more paper in the world in 1990 because we would have cut down all the forests. And we had the, I mean, this wasn't just some silly, we had the data to prove it. We had the rates of deforestation I lived in England at the time. I particularly remember that we talked a lot about the boreal forest in Canada would disappear to supply the world's paper needs. And, well, it didn't happen. So, I share the concern that if you tell people something really, really terrible is going to happen, first of all, it doesn't motivate them because they think, well, I can't do anything anyway. And secondly, there's this the kind of other reaction is, hey, it's all coming to an end. You know? I might as well fill up at the pump and drive my gas guzzler because it's not going to, you know, it's happening.
Absolutely, and I mean, so the two biggest advocates for oil are George Bush and Sarah Palin, both of whom are parts of religious movements that believe that the rapture is coming within their lifetime. So that is a viewpoint that I think is dangerous, and I agree with you that projecting too wildly an apocalypse that may come can backfire. And when Beck has famously used failed predictions of various people to say, oh, well, look, they predicted this, it didn't happen, so business as usual is fine. Whereas if we talk about real damages that are taking place, and I forget the artist, there's a photographer who showed, and there was a TED Talk where he showed the tar sands and what was happening there. And those images of what's actually happening, which aren't predictions, therefore you don't have to worry about them not being true, can be really powerful. And the out of sight, out of mind, very few of us have traveled to tar sands. Very few of us have traveled to areas of China that have suffered heavily from our exporting our industry there. And so if we can get these proto-apocalypse out into the visual culture, because the other side's doing that. They're saying, you know, the NDP has dangerous lands that tax carbon, and that's going to ruin our economy. And at the same time, we have these cheerful little videos of Canadian ingenuity where they show people canoeing and snowshoeing and blasting steam to get the oil. And we're not engaging at the same level.
I got a couple comments. A couple people brought up the visual, and yeah, I think that's really important. I think when you mentioned the landscapes, at a philosophical level, what it does is it ties us personally to this image of us affecting everything outside of us. So it bridges the fact that we are nature, we are part of nature, and the history of from the Enlightenment, you know, science on is that there's a separation there. If we just do the right thing, if we fiddle with things the right way, we affect what's outside of us, we can correct it. But this idea now that climate change, if nothing else, it shows us in a global way that we are part of nature and we are affecting it. We are nature and we're in a wrong relationship with it. Just in terms of the apocalypse stuff, yeah, I don't think it's whether we should talk about the apocalypse or not. I think it's who does and how we do it. That's the science is telling us, you know, from so many different academies. You know, the International Energy Agency talked about we're on a trajectory of 4 degrees by what, 1930 or 2035, like it's imminent. So this idea that we are, that we'll get back to our children's world is not discussion anymore. We have transformed the world, and what we put in place now is going to transform it in huge ways that are going to affect us in terms of our agricultural systems and politically. So the point is that we have to look at this from a social aspect. What are the implications of climate change? It means that there's going to be social forces, historically, that reactionary social forces that have provided the image of how to respond to the apocalypse, and they already do. You know, all the oil companies it's insidious, and it's interesting how they do it, but they use images of climate and potential problem with climate to pursue their, you know, profit making. Question is the people who are rational will fight against those irrational economic forces by telling us how bad it is, So we can put things in perspective. So we know that it's not just about recycling bottles and not just about, doing cold sober calculating measures and twiddling while one burns. We got to do what Mark Jacquard did, which is, get out there, rest it, and put yourself out there to show everybody that we're in deep, deep, deep problems. You can only do that by presenting that apocalyptic message first. You can only adjust your measures so they're commensurate with the threat if you're willing to talk about the depth of the threat that we're facing.
It needs a lot of credibility. Like if you're wrong, you know what I mean. Like if you say something like, "We've had a late summer this year because of global warming," as soon as I hear that, I'm on the other view. I'm like, that's totally not true. Like, there's no correlation with this late summer and like global warming. You can't make that statement, right? So when people make statements like that, some kind of apocalyptic statement, I just don't want to listen, right? I can't listen anymore to what you say because you've already lost me there. I think you've lost me with that one point. And that's just my personal.
My parents grew up in Vancouver. The weather in Vancouver when they were young is quite different than it is now. And if you believe the scientists, global warming has something to do with it. Does this specific
my understanding of the science is that global warming doesn't predict a specific seasonal weather pattern. It predicts a change in the global weather patterns, to track climate change, you need to do a longitudinal study over time. One season doesn't provide evidence one way or the other. And I think that's just what this gentleman was saying, that to look at the weather, or the heat wave that's covering the U.S. now, apparently, as of last week. Americans are once again believing in climate change because the heat wave passed. And on the one hand, it's a good thing that now there's belief in climate change, but on the other hand, the justification for that belief is flawed, right? And I think that,
But I
there's
think
just a real gap.
if you see more and more, you get strange weather, like just every year. What happens is different. There's always
But the IPCC talks about the overwhelming preponderance of evidence in aggregate.
I'm not denying there's climate change, right? But
You gotta be careful with when you say.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
That's the point.
That comes back to how you communicate, and when you want to put forward facts, you have to be right on your facts. And having this kind of religious discourse, when you just point forward facts that are not really grounded, it's as Steve was saying. When I hear that, I say, wow, what a bad speech. And they are trying to sell something, and they are no better than the oil companies. They are using the same devices, which are just turning around things in the way you want. And so there is no reason why this communication would be more efficient. Second comment I'd like to make was on the apocalyptic vision and the emotional connection. Facts don't persuade anybody. They can convince certain people, but they never persuade anybody.
They never what?
They never persuade anybody. And you have an extensive discussion of that by Jean-Pierre Dupuis, who is professor at Stanford and in France, and in the tradition of Ivan Illich and other thinkers like that, and that his theory of catastrophism could be helpful for those who want to go deeper into this. And the comment, I wanted also to make a comment on nature and man. There's always been this strong connection between nature and man, and all our civilization is a history of interaction with nature. Agriculture is nothing than a strong hand, human hand on nature. Then, is it more positive, negative? It all depends on the viewpoint you take. It's true that you have had this vision of man as a master, like master of nature. But this is no longer the epistemological root of modern science. It has changed. There might be certain people still thinking like that. It was mostly the Enlightenment, the 19th century science, which was heavily in this. But there has been a strong change, epistemologic change, and we are conscious of the retroaction and the fact that human cannot be sent out of nature as part of nature. So this was also another comment I wanted to make around this.
So can I just interrupt? We only have this room booked until 12:30 and 1:30, and there's another group coming in at that time, so they take us ahead. If you want to, I mean, we could just end on that note.
Do you want to do a final something as a speaker?
There's only one thing. It's one of the things we've been commenting is on the methods of apocalyptic or not, and I think the easy answer to that is what's going to persuade one person to act will persuade another one not to act. So I think if we take one approach or not, it's completely ineffective. One person will be very motivated by an apocalyptic sort of vision, and one person will be completely unmotivated by it. So I think we do need multiple ways of working towards stuff. Everyone has different motivations, and if we sort of argue over which one works, I think we're lost, because as long as they're moderately effective, they all sort of work. And I do think there needs to be moderation, but you need to remember that what's going to motivate you might unmotivate your neighbor. There's no rhyme or reason to actual motivation factors.
You have your hand up for a while.
Well, I just wanted to follow up what you say, but I think that's what happened, the wrong conception of the people or the that make mistakes thinking about what is local weather, what regional weather, and when you are talking about global changes of average mean temperature around the world. So that's different. And I think that's the ways that the deniers of climate change try to say to the people, okay, look at the weather here, it's cold, it's freezing, colder, or the summer is really, really late. Decide that what you need to see globally, what is happening. And the average mean temperature of what is rising. So, for example, also, what they are predicting, if you go to the PCIC, the Pacific Climate Impact Research Consortium, you can see, for example, how the regional weather is going to change due to the mean global temperature, how it's changing. And you are going to see that, for example, in big cities, Colombia, we are going to have more rainy events, more intensive rains, and that I think is happening right now. You can see it. So it's increasing. So you can see all that stuff. But also, I also wanted to point out when you mentioned about the tobacco issue and how the big industries where there was a multi-millionaire investment just to sell the idea that tobacco was okay to smoke, right? That was in the 1960s, 1970s, and before that. I